Hi guys, hope you are doing well. This is Cafe from Qt Cloud 365. Welcome to Azure Cloud Training Come Knowledge Sharing Platform. Let's begin. Today's session is all about Azure tenants, accounts, management groups, subscription, resource groups, and resources. Might be these terms are confusing for any of us. Let me try to explain these terms by keeping it short and simple for our easy understanding. So let's start with Microsoft Azure Tenant. On the uppermost level is an Azure account, also known as tenant or directory. An Azure account is exclusively associated with an Azure Active Directory, which is also known as IDaaS, means Identity as a Service. An Azure tenant is simply a container for subscription and Azure Active Directory objects. You cannot run anything in an Azure account or tenant without a subscription. Azure tenant names must be globally unique, and each tenant has a .on Microsoft.com domain associated with it. For example, Qt Cloud 365 .on Microsoft.com. Okay, so tenant is the first thing that you are going to register when you are starting your cloud journey. So first you have to register the tenant, then you create a management groups, then you create a subscription for your tenant, then you create a resource group, and then under resource group you create your multiple resources like virtual machines, virtual network, storage, and any web apps, load balancer, etc. So what next after you have created your Azure tenant? So the next thing is to create a management groups in your tenant. This is not mandatory to create a management groups. You can create the tenant and you can just create a subscription and assign the subscription to your tenant. But this is the very good practice to create a management group. Okay, why? Let's see. So first, what is management group? So management groups are containers that help you manage access, policy, and compliance for multiple subscription. Okay, so if our organization has many subscription and need a way to efficiently manage the access, policies, and compliance for those subscription, Azure Management Groups provides a level of scope above subscriptions, right? So all subscription in a management group automatically inherit the conditions applied to the management group. So what is the best point? That you can apply the condition on your the top level management group or the above management group, and it will inherit the permissions to the down level groups. Fine. So a management group cannot include a Azure resources. Okay. Note it. A management groups cannot include a Azure resources. It can only include other management groups or subscriptions, as you see shown in the below diagram. So the diagram is taken from the Microsoft. Thank you to Microsoft. So here see what is done to manage or organize the subscription. What is done that created we have created a one root management group, and under that we have segregated all our departments like human resources, IT, marketing, and underneath we have assigned the subscription or created another management group. Fine. So this is the diagram and how it works and how it helps you to organize your infrastructure. So guys, what next? You have created your tenant, you have created management group. So the next thing or the next level is subscription. So what is a subscription? So a subscription is the billing container. An easiest way to think about a subscription is an agreement with Microsoft to use Azure platforms or services. as well as you agree to pay Microsoft for consuming their cloud-based resources by registering a subscription. Okay, so an Azure subscription is also a logical container used to provision resources in Azure. A single Azure tenant can contain multiple subscriptions. Note, a single Azure tenant can contain multiple subscriptions, right? But a subscription cannot be assigned to a multiple tenant. Okay. Then there are many type of subscriptions Microsoft is providing. Fine. With a different offers. So what are those? So uh, I cannot explain all the subscription, but I'm trying to explain the most commonly used subscription. Okay, if you want more details, the URL is mentioned here. You can go to these URL uh, and you can see the offers that Microsoft is offering. So mainly there are you can categorize subscription in two different category. Okay, the first category is subscription with no limit. Okay, what is this? There are some subscription doesn't have any spending limit and are good for the production workloads. Means you can use and you can pay as you go. Fine. So what are these subscriptions? The first one you can see is a pay as you go. The second, cloud solution provider, and the third is enterprise agreement. So the large enterprises, okay, which are has a global footprint and a big infrastructure, they generally use enterprise agreement. Okay, and then there is another subscription that has limits. Okay, so what are those subscriptions? They comes with a monthly spending limit, and you cannot use your services if the monthly limit is reached. Fine. So what are those subscription with the limits? Are free trial, as you know, and many of you are using also free trial. Second is Azure Pass, and the third is Visual Studio. So this is the basically about subscription, and this is important to know. Okay, further you can explore, but please understand these things. It will also help you in your future because if you know this. Okay, let's explain some more about subscription. Okay, so why we need multiple Azure subscription? Okay, so multiple subscription are required for resource or billing management process. For example, you might require additional subscription to separate your environment. Like you have a multiple environment and you want to build those environments separately. Fine. Like you have a test environment, pre-prod environment, uh, or QA environment. So you can assign or like you have a CMG, a cloud management gateway you are running for the SCCM clients. So you can assign the subscriptions for different environments to make the billing uh, easy for you to manage the billing actually. Fine. Then there is another reason for organizational structure. You can create subscription to reflect different organizational structures. For example, IT, HR, finance, sale, organizational units can be structured under different subscriptions, and you can build them differently. Fine. So you know that how much my IT department has spent this year, how much HR, finance, or sale department, right? And the billing, as I said, the billing. is very important for billing purpose because costs are first grouped at the subscription level. Organization might want to create subscription to manage and track costs for different business units, like above I said, like IT, HR, finance, sales, or dev test and prod infra. And then there is also a one another reason to create a multiple subscription is the subscription limits. Actually, all the subscription come with some limitations. Okay, fine. Yeah. Subscriptions are bound to some hard limitations. Okay, for example, the maximum number of access route circuits per subscription is 10. Okay, and if you have already exhausted these limits, then what you have to do, you have to create a one another subscriptions, and then you can again create a 10 more circuits. So that's why you need multiple subscriptions. Fine. So the next thing is Microsoft Azure Resource Group. Okay. So underneath the subscriptions are resource groups. Fine. So once you created a tenant, you created a management group, you assign the subscriptions, and under subscriptions, you create a resource group. So resource groups is also a container which helps to organize the resources and helps to restrict and access to the resources within a resource group. Fine. So suppose you have created a different subscription. Fine. You have two subscriptions, one for application team and one for infra team. And then underneath subscriptions, you have created a resource group, different resource groups. Like in applications, you have created a one resource group for application web application team, one for database team. So you can restrict the access on each resource group for different team. Like you don't want to give the access to particular, you have given the access on the subscription level, so anyone can use the resources underneath the subscriptions. But then you want to separate the access on each resource group, so you can uh, do by creating a resource group. Fine. There could be a multiple resource group within a single subscription. Okay, so you can create a multiple subscriptions, multiple resource group within a single subscription. But a resource group can be part of just one subscription. Make sure. Okay, but a resource group can be part of just one subscription. Resource groups name do not have to be globally unique, but must be unique within a particular subscription. Okay, resource groups are not the billing units. Okay, Microsoft Azure resources. Next thing. So finally, what we have is the resources. So what are the resources? Resources are the building blocks of an Azure IaaS, infrastructure as a service. These resources are created under the resource group, which is under the subscriptions, and subscription is under the management group or under a tenant. Each resources used in Azure must be deployed in a geographical location known as region. Right? So when you create any resource, you have to select two things. Yeah, that is very mandatory. The first thing, uh, like I am creating a one virtual machine. I have given the name, then I have to create the under which resource group and which region. Fine, like West Europe, East Europe, West US, North US, whatever. So you have to choose the region as well. The most common Azure resource which are the building blocks of Azure IaaS are these are the main resources. Fine, which are also known as the building blocks. Fine, so virtual machine, virtual network, and storage account. So guys, what I talked, now we will put it in a hierarchy and we will call this Microsoft Azure hierarchy summary. So Azure provides four levels of management scope. Fine. The first is management groups, subscription, resource group, and resources. The following image shows the relationship of these levels. So as I said, the first thing is the tenant. Okay, you just create a tenant, then you create a management groups underneath your tenant. Underneath management groups, you create a subscription. Under subscriptions, you can assign or create a resource group, and within resource group you can create a resources. So this is the hierarchy summary, and if you follow this hierarchy summary, it will be easy to manage your infra efficiently. Fine. That's all guys, this is all about for today's session. If you have any feedback, suggestion, or question, please do write me on my email. The email is mentioned in my first slide. You can take my email from there, and of course, just give me your feedback, suggestion, and question. And if you guys think you have learned something, please do like, subscribe, share, and press the notification button. Thank you so much for your time and patience. Have a great